Alright, so Ronald,
Can everyone hear us in the back?
Test. Hello. Excellent. All right. Thanks everyone for coming. Last day of the panel, so really glad you guys made it. My name is Konn Lavery, and I'm with Friedman and Adam Dreece. We're going to talk about writing and the journey it takes to become a writer. And yeah, that's kind of a brief intro. Ron, want to introduce yourself? Sure, thanks.
I'll try without the mic, unless somebody's saying it the next one. My name is Friedman. I've been writing for a few years. I could maybe identify myself as a hybrid writer. Most of my publications were short stories and in different magazines and anthology, including like Top Market in the US, like Galaxy Edge, Daily Science Fiction. My name was printed by Robert Handin. Very proud of that. If you can see from my here, so from my accent, I'm an immigrant. Still publish story and people buy them. I sold my first novel to World Fire Press. It's a medium-sized US publishing house in the States. Kevin Giannoso. They're doing a lot of time with Star Wars and Dune. It's a really cool market, but it's not out yet. I was an AROA Award finalist. AROA is the Canada Premier Science Fiction and Fantasy Award for science fiction and fantasy writers. I got 10 times honorable mention in Writers of the Future. It's a really cool contest. Anybody who win go to Hollywood, a very fancy ceremony with bow ties, pay $5,000. I didn't win, but I got 10 times honorable mention, and this story appears here. This is my first indie publication, or self-publishing, that I try to do. It's endorsed by Robert J. Sawyer. There's some really cool stories, all of them set in the same universe. Other than that, I'm a member of SIFMA. It's an American organization for science fiction and fantasy writers. SF Canada, which is Canadian equivalent. And I'm also a member of a local writing group called IFLA. So if any of you are here in Calgary and you write speculative fiction, you may want to join that group.
I'm Adam Dreece. I'm an indie author. I've written a couple of books. Been released since 2014. I launched my first one here at Calgary Expo in 2014. 25 years I wrote and I did nothing with it. I had two medical events hit me hard and changed my perspective on the one day became the now. And I didn't want to spend a couple of years trying to find agents, eventually get my books on the shelf, etc. I didn't know anybody. I'd only moved to Calgary about a year before. I didn't know anybody in the industry, but having been a software architect involved with startups and whatnot for 2 decades, I decided I was going to jump off the cliff and see if I could learn to fly. And I've been a finalist for multiple awards, including some from the Independent Authors Network, from Reader's Favorite. I just got a finalist today, again for my first book, from a group called The Wishing Shelf, which actually has actual kids from schools as well as real adults all vote in for the top favorite books of the year. I write steampunk meets fairy tale, I write post-apocalyptic fantasy, and science fiction, and I write very much for dual audiences, so both for kind of like that tween and teen as well as adults. And I had a really snarky comment given which really fits my style, which they said, I think you only try to masquerade your books as middle grade and YA, because really these are adult books, right? But like any good fairy tale. So that's kind of who I am. I've gone purely from that journey. I've had some of my stuff published by other publishing houses, but I really view myself largely as an indie for a variety of reasons, including that's where the vast volume of my stuff gets published first by me. So.
Yeah, and I'm very much like Adam in the sense that I'm an indie author. I started in 2012 with my first release, and have been going ever since, mostly writing in dark fantasy and horror genre. I find those two to be my most interest, so I focus on that. And my first release was actually in Edmonton, Happy Harbor Comics, and now I'm up to re-releasing the very first novel that I made and releasing as a second edition. So the first one is now retired and out of print, and yeah, that's where I'm at today with releasing the one, and that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
So I think what we wanted to do, given the nature of this topic, people tend to have a lot of questions. I think what we want to do is be able to turn it over to you guys. If you have particular questions, we're happy to kind of answer and elaborate on those. So how many people here are, either have self-published or interested in that, kind of flirting with the idea or wanting to get there?
Okay.
How how many people are in the wrong panel? How many people arms don't work? Okay, those people don't listen. Okay, so do any question to kick us off in terms of any regard or any element of self-publishing? Or
Maybe a room in the back of your head that we're hoping to get some insight into. Fire.
How do you distribute it? You've got the book done, and how do you get it out there?
That's a great question. You guys want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, distributed. There's lots of different ways. A very common way is through Amazon. There's the ebooks and then the physical books. With ebooks, quite simply, you can use a Word file and upload it, and they'll convert it to an ebook format. Print books are a little more complicated because you have the actual layout and it needs to be distributed physically. Amazon has a service called CreateSpace. They give you templates that you can work with. The problem is they are US based, so the prices are in American dollar. Pro is that it gets uploaded to Amazon. There are other ones like blurb.ca, and they offer the same templates, but they're Canadian. And there's some other shops in Alberta, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So that's kind of the overall scope when you're going to distribute it, and you just have to have like a finished Word file and work from there. If you have familiarity with some design software like InDesign, that can be very effective as well, because you get a little more flexibility in terms of the layout. So that's the best way to do some publishing.
Another option is just to go with a publisher.
Yeah.
That's difficult to get in either with an agent or to submit to the publisher. They have something called slash file, and they accept maybe 1 in 1,000, so it's really very, very tough to get. Or you can go to conventions, try to meet publishers. There are a few publishers out here in the room, Edge, and a few others. So you can go there, talk to them, and maybe they will request if you have already manuscript. Send it to them, and maybe they will accept it. Well, the advantage of going with a publisher is, first of all, they have their own distribution channel. It may appear on Chapter. If you self-publish it, you could put it on Chapters in local stores. But if you want to do it national, it's really, really tough and really, really expensive. And it's all about insurance. Because what they do if you don't sell it till the first page and send it to you, you need to pay them back. So it could be a very expensive endeavor to do it without a publisher. On the other hand, most people today buy their 50%, I would say, especially science fiction and fantasy, 50% are buy online, don't need a publisher for that. Another 25% are buying online, but not the ebook or the paper book. So if you don't go through the big chains, you only lose 25%. The disadvantage of going with a publisher is you get a lot less money. You get 10% rather than 50 or 70%.
So, there's a number of others. We actually should go into that a little bit. In terms of distribution, because that really is the Achilles heel, there's two things. One is reach and one is distribution. So, the initial way of doing it is by a consignment with different students. Right? So, for example, chapters in the book, as Ron was mentioning, we can do that locally. I recently hit the point in sales where I've converted from being consignment to being my own distributor directly to Indigo nationally. So there are several steps involved in that. One is your sales numbers have to be there several years in a row. They have a benchmark. But then you also need to get approval from true gatekeepers, being the category managers. These are the people at the very top in terms of owning all the science fiction and fantasy, all of the team, whatnot for Indigo across the board. These are the people who get wined and dined by the big publishers regularly. So you have to be able to provide not just your books and have the internal support of somebody sponsoring you pretty much, but you also have to provide a marketing plan. Now, one of the reasons why I do a lot of cons, and I put as much effort, if not slightly more, into meeting people and pushing the paper, is because of longevity. It's very easy to potentially get a short-term burst from an ebook point of view, but then you have no real material relationship with the person other than the story, unless you get involved very much from different online communities point of view. So when you think about distribution, you've got to think about your reach, and you've got to think about how you're kind of growing your strategy. And as long as you're willing to outrun your mistakes, you can do it. Now, when it comes to potting and whatnot, like CreateSpace, Island Blue out of Vancouver, we're doing small print runs. I've used Blitz in town. I also do my large print runs with Friesens out of Manitoba. I've really had to kind of scale that bit by bit. So for example, if you buy from Amazon.com, you're really getting a book printed by CreateSpace. If you went to a store in the Philippines and bought my book, that's actually being printed on demand by Ingram Spark. And one of the big things that the single biggest thing to realize when you are in the self-publishing space, when you are an indie author, and I do differentiate between the two. Think like an indie band, they'll produce, their music, they will go on tour, they will build that grassroots up, and very often self-publishing is kind of pushing out into the world, maybe doing a little bit, but not really getting into the marketing and all those other elements. From a distribution point of view, there are distributors, there's two at least in Canada, who will deal with indie publishers. However, they don't have particularly good reputations, and I bothered to go and research that. There's plenty of money, plenty of people who will take your money, right? They're like, we will put you in chapters, we will get a stack of your books shown, you will feel amazing for $5,000. But you really need to dig into that, and you have to separate your ego from it. Everybody wants to see their book on the shelf, right? You don't want your books being returned. And there's all these business elements, and it really pays as you're going through to try to find somebody who's a bit ahead of you or where you would like to end up being, because you'd be surprised how many of those people are willing to share with. From their point of view, isn't secrets, it's lessons learned. But it can be costly to have ego first and say, no, I know exactly what I'm doing. That's not like the people who say, I'm going to have a restaurant, it's going to crash and burn because I know the second restaurant always does well. No, the objective is not crash and burn. Right?
I have a question to the audience. That anyone here don't know the difference between consignment and distribution?
Anybody familiar with what consignment is? So the idea that your books are there, they're offered at a discount, but you don't get paid unless the books get bought. And if the book gets stolen or ruined, you don't get paid, right? Just get your book back. So does that kind of answer your question as well? Okay, cool. Done.
Any other? Yes.
So if you publish on Amazon, is there do publishers or big publishers kind of decide to pick up stuff that's published on Amazon, or does Amazon own exclusive distribution rights to that book for whatever duration it's for?
I can do that.
Yeah.
So they're just a distribution house. So basically, you own the rights of your material. You can pull it on and off of Amazon, Kobo, whatnot. If you go on to Amazon, they do have an exclusive program, KDP Select. If you have to know some of the nightmares that can happen, search my name on YouTube. And I'm sure it might happen in January, right? But you own it. Now the thing is, when you release a story yourself, right, those first publishing rights are kind of consumed. To get a large publisher to really want to take that book, usually the magic number is you've got to sell about 50,000 copies, right? Or you've got to be able to show that you really built an audience for that. Now, that is always the double-edged sword, right? Do you put it out on your own name and be willing to drive that yourself? Do you put it out potentially hitting that sales goal with the option of carrying on? Or do you potentially bump into a publisher who kind of says, actually, I like what you've done. How many of you sold? You sold 8,000. That's a great proof of concept. We really like the story. We're going to take it from here. That's really rare. Now, one of the things that I point out to a lot of authors who walk around with stories for years is you aren't building any audience. And some people carry those around like they're pets, right? Instead of going, you know what? This story is good. I've got this other thing that I'm working on that I've got a lot of lessons learned from. Maybe what I'll do is I'll put this out there to start, one, getting the real feedback, right? And I'm willing for this to never be published by anybody else but me, right? And you put it out there into the world. And it can make you a hell of a lot stronger. I found, if you read from the first couple of books in my Yellow Hood series, because I kept putting them out there, and then I got immense feedback. It's version 1 of me in the first book, but it's version 2 by book 2, and it's version 3 of me, not 1.1, 1.2, not little incrementals. So when you put them out there, they're your rights. That never goes away. Unless you're using one of these services that are going to take your money, and please read the fine print, because there are some of them that will own it. If you go direct to Amazon or Kobo, or you use Smashwords, right, you retain all of that. You go with other ones that are going to do all this other marketing stuff for you, please read the fine print, because I helped a friend avoid losing her rights for 5 years, right? So those kind of places, and I'm not saying this disparagingly enough, but there are services like, and I'm not saying that these guys do it, but Universe and whatnot that try to wrap their arms around what you want to get done, right? Read their contracts really well so you understand, okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess following up on that, how do you find reliable things like editors or someone do cover art, things like that? Is there somewhere, a resource you can go to find reputable people? Because there's a lot, like you said, a lot of people willing to take your money. So how do you avoid doing that? Is there like a guild or something?
Do you guys want to talk about it?
Join a critic group.
What?
Join a critic group. People who will read. First, you need to find better readers. Try to get your story or your manuscript to be the best that you can deliver. And the way to do it is giving it to other people, ideally perhaps other writers who know what they're talking about rather. But you can also give it to other people who. And then you want to go to conventions like this, try to meet people and get recommendation. And once you find a good editor, you can hire that editor to bring your manuscript to the next level. Normally, when you write a manuscript, each time it is reviewed, it's going up one level. It's not that going from here to, well, this is now the grade. No, it's always going another layer, another layer. And you, especially if you self-publish, you don't want to take a copy, you know, to do all this little grammar or wording. Especially me, English is my second language, it's a must. So this is a lot of complaint from people why people who not publish through publishing house. I found a lot of small errors. That will be.
Yeah, I'll add on to that too. Particularly here in Alberta, there's the Alberta's Writers Guild, and if you join that, it's a yearly subscription, and you get access to an archive of tons of different writing professions and what they specialize in, editors being one of them. So you can contact them, email them, see what they specialize in, whether it's like grammar, syntax, story flow, and some of them will charge like by the word, some charge by the hour, by the page. They all have their own different formats, so you just kind of have to go through and interview them to see if you guys click. So that's a good way to do that. And also friends and family, what's creating known as a beta reader group. So even before you go to the editor, so you save some cash as you go to your beta reading group and have them read it. Some of them are going to catch typos, they're going to find story flaws, and that's why you nurture that group and you find people that are excited about reading your work to do that. So those are a couple of extra options to help with the editing process.
So I'm going to add two things. One, just for everybody to understand what a beta group is. What that is when you think your story is fairly complete, or that if you touch it anymore, you're going to screw it up. I think we all kind of get that feeling at times. What you need is a group of people, whether or not you physically know them, but a group of people who will be able to review it to give you analytical feedback. This part was slow for me, this part worked. You don't want people, usually who are actually other writers, they tend to have a tendency to, unless they're good at it, of reshaping the story the way they would do it. And that's not what you want. You want people who kind of look at it from your eyes and be able to give you the feedback. And some of the best feedback I've ever got was really hard for me to read, right? Like I got a long email, it takes you like 3 days to calm down and look at it analytically. That's how you know. It's like, you know, what I loved about the book, one sentence, what I liked about the book, why I would burn it. Oh dear God, right? But it's not provided in a way that's personal at all. So that's what that is. There are groups and societies for editors. I've been burned twice by professional editors who came highly recommended, who actually did a completely crap job. I mean, on the scale of, I'm dyslexic, right? So my brain picks up high patterns. I start flipping through the stuff and I find 3 the is's, right? Now, there's a difference between developmental edits, which are looking for flaws and consistency and problems, and then you get to the copy edits, right? Which are kind of like grammar fixes and whatnot. So you need to really make sure to find somebody who works well with you. And my rule is I will not take an editor who wants to be an author. That is where I got burned on those 2 times. When I kind of dug into it, these people didn't have the same caliber quality bar that I personally had. Now, being dyslexic, I've modified my process, and I have a fantastic editor that I found through friends, who's north of Red Deer. I won't share her name to everybody because then I write too fast and she won't be available. But what I did for my process is I'll write and I'll go through my betas and then I'll send it off to her and she'll complete it and send it back to me. And then when I'm done, I send it back to her because some of my mistakes, being dyslexic, are really hard to miss. Like at the end of a sentence, the word though, not thought, you're missing 1 letter, but completely can throw somebody. So after she's done, I have 2 proofreaders that go through it. One I nickname her Gandalf because nothing shall pass. Right? But you've got to find the process that works for you. And that sometimes the best ways to find it are through your own network, asking other authors or other writers, right? And then being able to test out, like send 2 or 3 pages and see what they provide back to you, right? Are they trying to change the voice? And can you handle the feedback you get, right? Because you gotta find that pattern. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, maybe one more comment. Some authors that I know, what they do, they use a website called Wattpad, and they just put a story for free and get a lot of feedback from other readers, and they use this feedback to get a better version later on. Now, Wattpad don't pay you, and you, by putting it there, you may lose the ability to sell it to other big publishing house. If you plan to self-publish, it's a valid option. And actually, in some cases, I've heard people who are extremely successful in Wattpad, got movie deals or publishing deals. I haven't done it, but I know people do it.
There's a question about?
Yeah, for agents, how would you suggest going about getting an agent, or would you suggest getting an agent? What's your guys' thoughts on that?
I engage a few agents, and like some agents from big name authors that I met in different conventions and workshops that I took. There is a website that I forgot its name that you can register and get. I don't want to give it to you right now because I don't remember it. But give you all the agents and all the deals that they've made. Another option, but you need to have some publishing credit, is join some writers organizations such as CIFA, the Science Fiction Writers of America, and they have all the CIFA member who are their agents, and then you can go and try to query all these agents. Another option is going to convention and find agents. If you want to, I can give you my card and you can email me. And
there's a couple of Facebook groups that also post what agents are taking open query letters, etc. In my particular case, and this is where it ties to the self-pub, I was approached last year. So this agent had actually heard of me and then became a fan of my work, and then we started talking. Now, one of the things that's tricky is that I can't give her anything that is a spin-off or derived work from anything I've already got going, right? So that was one. So I had to give her something entirely new. I had to give her something that was complete, right? So that means within my writing schedule, because I release 2 to 3 books a year, right? And my audience and readership expect that of me. So I've got to be able to basically ratchet up my output so that I can put that within. And the other thing is, we had a very candid conversation about if I got the deal, any deal, I would likely not be able to write other material unless potentially it was under 30,000 words, in which I might be able to get a caveat. So there are a couple of things, particularly if you're very prolific in the self-pub space, and you need to be, right? I call it feeding the beast. You've got to feed the beast at least twice a year, right? Some people feed it once a month, right, in terms of producing material. So when you're going down the agent side, whatever you're going to put on that side, you don't touch. You have to give them time to shop it around. But inform yourself as to what can happen from that. So if you're writing like 5 different things and you're handing one thing over, realize that if you're writing novel-length other material, you might end up needing to put that all on pause until you're done, if that became a series or whatnot. So these are areas where I didn't know. So having an agent approach me, I was able to ask all kinds of questions and really get into understanding this. But the choice of going the indie path, the traditional path, blending the strategy, it really depends on you and where you want to get to and who you are. Like I am naturally an entrepreneur. And you can find, other than through the groups, I would find some of the Facebook groups that do mention things like that. And there's one, if you contact me like in a couple of days by email or on Facebook, I'll find one of them where I know every now and then they post, hey, saying these agents are looking for material in dark fantasy, whatever. They're taking queries for the next 3 weeks. Do a query letter. If you're not familiar with that, it's a good time to research. That's the approach I want to take.
And if you're not published, just be aware that the agents, they get maybe 5,000 queries a year, and they take maybe a handful of new authors who have never been published before. So it's just about the same odds as reading to /5.
And to add to that, there's a book that's actually really handy that it's called The Literary Guide to Agents. And they release one every year or two, and there's 2 parts to it. There's 70% of it that's a giant index of agents across North America, contact info, what genre they prefer, and how to get a hold of them, and whether they prefer email or like snail mail. And the first 30% talks to you about building a good presence to attract an agent, how to write a proposal, how to build your author platform to make yourself appealing to them, and what to say and what not to say. And you can order from Amazon. It's like $30, and we can educate you on how to get into the industry. Yeah.
Yeah, some of the big publishing houses, they only accept partner agents. It's part of the system.
So let's say you got a book, you get it out on Amazon. What do you do to make sure that it actually gets read? And that kind of goes with what you were talking a couple of minutes ago, feeding the bees. Do you always have to do that? Or let's say you want to publish a book every couple of years, is that still feasible to do it via Amazon, or do you want to go traditional at this point?
So I have this joke called no but, because when you're going the indie route, you work your butt off. You end up with no but. And you end up learning, even if you go the traditional route, you'd be surprised by how much marketing responsibility ends up on your shoulders. It's not like the days where you can just go and write and they will take care of everything else. All the publishers that I've become connected with, all make it really clear. Like they're gonna put some amount of effort and whatnot, but they have so many people, not just with good stories, but who are willing to do the social media legwork and everything else, that they'll just take the next guy in line. So if you only want to publish every couple of years, you've got to realize that you own your audience, right? You can upload your story. Maybe people will find it by accident, but unless you are making an effort to get it out there, and what that means is, for example, not just turning your Twitter feed into a buy my book, buy my book, buy my book, right? But you've got to find communities to be able to be a part of, right? That can mean that's when I started doing the conventions, right? To be able to meet people. I treat it like a political movement, right? Grassroots. If they meet me, they can know me. If they like the stories or don't like the stories, they'll post the reviews. And then I started building a mailing list, right, where I would provide new material of what I'm working on. It's very tricky if you only want to do stuff very casually, because then you got to figure out, well, how do I get into that? Am I going to go and pay to be in email newsletters that focus on that genre to help give kind of the spike when it comes out? Or am I going to manage my own kind of readership and grow that over time by giving them nuggets, whether it's once a day, some people do, which I think is crazy, once a week, once a month, once every couple of months, right, to keep me present of mind. Because in the indie space, there is an insane number of books released a month, right? So what used to work 15 minutes ago is not necessarily going to be what works right now, right? So when you put it out there, there used to be this thing of, or at least this illusion that you could put it out there and then maybe it's just going to wonderfully spike, and that's a fantasy. That is not versus science fiction that she like made up.
I once spoke with Mark Leslie, he's the director of Writers Relations in Kobo, and I asked him, should I self-publish my book or not? His answer was, if you go with a publisher, you have to do most of the marketing. If you self-publish, you have to do all the marketing. The difference is not that big.
To add to that too, and whether you go self-publishing or traditional, you really have to become the face of your books. So you have to, like Adam said, you have to become a public figure, a lot like politics. You have to be the face that people remember, because on ebooks especially too, there's a lot of noise because a lot of people are self-publishing. So you have to stand out and do something different that makes them noticed, and going to conventions and doing signings allows them to meet you as the author as well. So, and word of mouth is a very powerful way to get your work out there if they like your work, and then people are going to talk about it and share it with their friends. So that's another way to get it out there as well.
And somebody asked me in one of my talks yesterday about building that initial audience from zero, right? And one of the things I talk about, one of the things you can do very much so in that self space, right, self-publishing in indie space, is find a peer group. Right? When I first started, there was I found a couple of people on Twitter, and we were all working on our first books, right? And then what we would do is, as each one of us released, we would share it with our social circles, right? And it's really interesting to watch those kind of groups. I mean, who's in the group might not evolve over time, but you end up with this reinforcing peer group, right? From a marketing point of view. So right now, I do newsletter swaps. I've culled my newsletter down to about 4,000 people, like the people who read it the most, right, every single week. And I will do promotions for other authors, right? So for example, Ron had his book, actually it was posted on my wall. We were supposed to do this. So his book comes out. Hey, I will take my audience that I know likes science fiction and fantasy, and I even promoted romance, and I will say, hey, my friend Ron's book just came out, right? 10 great short stories. Here it is. It's a brand new release, or it's on sale for 99 cents, right? Check it out. Let me know what you think, right? And I did that for a friend of mine, Joshua Roberts, a couple of weeks ago, and he had 200 clicks, right? Like within the first couple of hours. So I've been developing that peer group. The other thing that you can do when you're in indie, and only when you're in indie, is pivot and pivot fast, right? You release the book, you get hammered because of the editing, you can pull it, re-edit, push it back out. When the cover is, I'm talking to your audience, and I have a couple of examples of those where I've had to realize, shoot, I thought my audience was here, really my audience is here, test with a new cover, see it, push the new cover out, and bang, I can connect to those people. Any of the publishers that I know, if it goes out with a cover that's not really connecting, ace or again, right? Maybe when we do, maybe if it sells enough to warrant a sequel, we'll revamp the first cover. So that's the point I want to add.
Hi, sorry I'm late. I didn't mean to cause a trouble. Con's busy and it's hard to find places. The thing is, I had 2 questions. I don't know if I'm going to remember the second one. I do talk a lot. I did miss a lot. So tell me to shut up at any point. My brother is a self-published author. Not trying to plug, but he's got a book on Kindle. I can maybe talk to people. But on that note, my brother, and this is when I've been trying to create content as well, and we talked about peer groups, I've been trying to help market his stuff a little bit. But my brother is not very public person. Like, I'm not trying to drag my brother as I'm trying to promote his book at the same time, but what advice would you have for networking for people who struggle with maybe like big crowds or those things? Are there tips for more introverted?
I think I saw you on the monologue workshop. So,
Oh yeah.
so why don't you go and introduce him to some acting?
Right now? No. What?
Oh,
I missed
acting.
that. Sorry.
So maybe you can learn a little bit acting, so we feel more comfortable to stand, if not in front of an audience, and promote himself and be a little bit more extrovert. Another option is join some Toastmaster club, more than 50 here in Calgary, and it doesn't cost much. So this will be a good opportunity to practice and build confidence and improve his communication skills. And you're an actor, you should be able to know how to do it.
So for other folks, or another way to think about that, and I have a nonfiction book that's coming out in a couple of months where I raise this point. I had to really think about my author self as a variant on me, right? A public persona, right? Because when you are involved as an author, you cannot get mad the way that you might personally, and you've got to also learn to back out of conversations that you shouldn't be in. And I'll give a very critical example. I had a friend who writes children's books, but their Twitter feed was very adult content and very off-putting. And what he didn't understand is, you are your brand, right? Now, if you follow me online, and the key to all of this is being genuine, but you have to figure out what parts of you do you actually put out there. And when you start thinking about yourself that way, it really changes some things. There was a fantastic book that I read. I should be getting permission from her. I think it's called the Charisma Myth, right? And the Charisma Myth, the Science of Charisma. And it really talks about how to build your own charisma up, right? I give me a microphone and I'm very likely fine. Put me in like a social mixer, I want to die, right? I'm going to be hidden in the corner, just wall myself in, look like a plant, right? Whatever. It got me to be able to talk to, the staff of coffee shops with their name, and I started realizing, because the successful author has to be able to be engaging, and it is genuinely me. But it's like I've got to put moats between certain subjects or certain parts of myself and that outside world. And the more that I thought about that, and the more that I practiced those little things, right? The person who, when somebody gets in the elevator, you say, having a good day, right? For me, that was like, initially, that was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this, right? But then it started to become second nature, and you realize the more you train yourself to think that way, right, the easier that will get, and it isn't personal. And last convention, I have a famous blog post called getting a point blank 1-star review, right? Kind of the guns blazing right to your face, where somebody kind of hunted you down and they are making you the point of their con, right? How do you react, right? It's not personal. It's easy to say that. How do you make it feel as little personal as possible, right? And be able to walk out of that, because anything you say in a public forum, anything that you say that is recordable or replayable will come back to haunt you, right? In the same way that you're Nathan Fillion, and some guy says something and you punch him in the face, right? And that's probably going to go on YouTube, right? So that's kind of that mentality shift that's needed.
Something to add to that too, with the acting is putting on a mask, and that way you, not like a literal mask, but like a metaphorical one. So you're not you, and like you would be at home watching Netflix or something, or hanging out with friends. You're putting on a persona, and you have to ask yourself, what do you want that persona to be? And then you practice it, and that goes into the acting and deciding who that is, and then you're going to change it over time when you find some things work and some things don't work. And that's a good way to look at it, and then that really takes your emotions out of it, because you are now playing this character, interacting with people, and now you're not going to be so nervous when you're talking.
I don't dress like this at home.
No.
I have big flowing robes. My kids ride on it.
Any other questions?
Yes.
So if you like put your stuff up for a fiction test and then build an audience.
Sorry, I didn't hear.
So you put your stuff up, say like for non-fiction test that work,
Yeah.
and then like build up an audience and then move on to Amazon. Like I know a couple authors that I follow that did that pretty successfully. Like is that usual or?
It depends on what works for you.
Yeah.
Right? So for example, when I was taking my post-apocalyptic fantasy and I was writing it episodically, I would put the raw episodes up online, right? One, it was an experiment for me. I wanted to see if I could kind of grab an audience with this approach, and so people started to connect with it. And then when I completed it, right, this was all pre-edited. I took it offline and made it available for 99 cents. A lot of the people who'd enjoyed it the whole way through had no problem paying for it, but then they also became evangelists of it. When I put stuff up on Wattpad, it did jack, right? And when you talk about certain platforms, it's very much about the audience that platform tends to bring in from a gravity point of view. So you might be writing stories that looks really similar in genre to other ones that are being successful on that platform, but personal network, the actual age group that it's addressing, all of that kind of stuff are small factors into it. So, and over time, what you want to be able to do, let's say you were getting some success there, ultimately you want to own the platform. You might have started on Wattpad and whatnot, and bring them home to your blog. So when you don't own the platform, if you're posting it on Facebook or whatnot, the rules can change where all of a sudden you're cut off from your audience. So those models tend to work really well, particularly to help you sharpen your craft a bit. And there's no problem making something available, and then you only make the first 3 parts available, and then now available as an ebook, right? And that is a great way to get you to engage with others, but you've got to find the platform that works. And feel free to make a mess.
I think everything is about finding your niche. If you're writing for a specific subgenre, try to find groups to discuss this. Just don't try to push your work, please buy this, but say, hey, I'm joining this group, it could be on Facebook or Twitter, and join the discussion, let them know you, and then you can say, hey, by the way, I have this book. Just mention it, don't force yourself, but the key point is find your niche market. For example, if I write alternate history, I join a number of alternate history groups and try to, those are you. There could be a lot of podcasts then, and they could be your seed followers.
That's what's known as like target marketing, and with the data of the internet, it makes it way easier than ever before, because you can search for any kind of group or forum or community online and connect with those people. So definitely do that. And like Adam was saying, bring people back to your website. Also, that's where mailing lists come really handy because you get to keep their email address. So in case Facebook, changed a bunch of stuff and you have to pay for posts or something, or Twitter closed down or something, instead of losing all those followers, you converted them into subscribers on your blog or your newsletter, so you can keep them and they'll be a loyal follower and they won't ever lose you. Yes?
So, sorry, that was basically my second question. It's like, if you amass 1 million people on like fan fiction, it's like, hey, I have stuff you can actually pay for, how to do that. So kind of building on that and the peer support thing, how was I going to say this? Is how do you deal with that and not step on toes? So, like, I went to another panel that talked about licensing and how a lot of the fan-made stuff here kind of exists in a gray area, and depending on how much notoriety it got, could dress up the great gods of the corporations, which you don't want to do, right? So, like, how much do you balance, working and collaborating, right, versus your Zelda fanfic being free, and then you have this paid book, but then they're like, oh, but you're being paid for it. Like, how do you separate those audiences enough so that if you do something free that you're not trying to make money off of, that you use that, how can you transfer that audience with minimal amount of pain? I don't know how to phrase that better, I'm sorry. If that makes any sense.
You can try to use a pen name.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I know authors like Daniel Abraham, he has a number of pen names. I don't remember all of them, but for the Expanse TV series, anyone here saw it? So actually it's a collaboration of two people, one is an author, another one is a game designer who built the world, and they wrote the series of book together, and they use one pen name. He has an urban fantasy and he has an epic fantasy series, and for each one of them, I'm not talking about fan versus professional, it's professional, but it's 3 different genres, and for each of them he has a different name. So the market will not be confused.
Another thing too, like with the pen name as well in fan fiction, the example of 50 Shades of Grey started as a Twilight fiction, but she thought something was there, so she, shifted things and fixed it so it wasn't a fan fiction anymore. But it can start from the origins of that, so you don't have to stick to those core fundamentals of the story, and you can change names, you can change settings, you can change character traits, and even story plot points. So it doesn't represent that anymore, but it's a good starting point if you find that there's a fan base for that.
Now, one of the things a lot of people don't realize is that Amazon actually can allow you to make itself fanfic. They have these things called Kindle worlds, where the canon is provided and the frame of reference is provided, so your material, as long as it follows those rules, and I've had friends write G.I. Joe fiction and whatnot, and they're selling their stuff for 99 cents because it follows those rules. So Amazon actually has kind of tried to take that complete space and then monetize it, obviously, for them. But that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize. You can look up Kindle worlds, that's what it's called.
We have about 3 minutes left.
Okay. Maybe something that each of you guys wish that you would have known when you started that you do know now, something that you're like, if I could go back and give myself this piece of advice, there's something that sticks out to you.
I would say maybe come to panels like this and learn how to do stuff, because I did the other way around, essentially. I started by doing a huge successful lunch party and become a Calgary Herald #1 bestsellers. And then once it was out, like in Calgary Herald, of course the book was not available on Amazon. So I put it 2 weeks later. I had reason for that, because some of the story was submitted to another magazine, and I was waiting for a rejection before I could put it out. But it was wrong, and now I'm I'm trying to get an ISBN and put it, again, release it as a professional book. So if you learn your stuff, you have to do it the right way. First get an ISBN, then put it on Amazon, then make it a bestseller, rather than the other way around.
Do you go ahead first?
Trust your gut more. Right? if I would boil something down, because there's a lot of things, if I look at how I started out, yeah, there were a couple of things that I could have done differently, but they all led to very important successes, even the falling off the cliffs moments and whatnot. And the only times where I really ended up paying a bit for it is when I didn't trust my instincts, like with a new editor that I kind of felt something was off, a cover that just didn't resonate all the way through me, those kind of moments. But largely, I'm really happy with how things have gone. And sometimes I joke about outrunning your mistakes. But yeah, right. The worst thing you can do is if something starts going wrong, is just kind of stop and know about it instead of figuring, like you're starting to fall. What do we naturally do? We try to correct. You might clock your friend in the head, right? But you didn't fall backwards into the bed of nails behind you, right? So you can apologize for the first, but you wouldn't want to change that yourself. So.
A lot of the things like I learned throughout was trial and error. So yeah, just picking myself up after learning mistakes. But the one thing I would recommend, if I could go back and tell past Konn what to do better, was network more in the industry, because as writers we love to write, so it's such a secluded craft that you're writing away a lot that you don't get a chance to talk to people. So I would have taken advantage of going to conventions. There's literary ones here in Alberta and across Canada. I would have probably joined more reading groups, read more too. So yeah, just make more networking time.
Do we have time for another question?
No.
So we will be here for a couple more minutes, and then we will be outside if anyone.
And I've got bookmarks with my info on the back. So if somebody wanted to get hold of me, go to my website, contact info, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatnot. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you very much.